Welcome, everyone. I'd like to invite our panelists to come up to the stage. They have their official paperwork on the chairs that they're now reviewing very carefully. Well, welcome. My name is Wendy White. I'm Chair of Communication and Journalism. It's terrific to see all of you here tonight. We have one more panelist who is stuck in traffic, and so he will slip up onto the stage as soon as he arrives. But I'm just so pleased to greet 7 of our COJO alumni who are here to tell us all a little bit about their post-UST experiences. We have been doing these panels now for a couple of years. We host one in the fall and one in the spring, and so I would welcome all of you back in the spring because we'll have a new set of panelists as well, and it's always great to hear the insights from a number of different people. We are videotaping tonight's performance, so you'll be able to rewatch the video if you'd like at a later date, if you just didn't get that nugget of advice that you for sure want to remember. And we have to have a hard stop here right at 7 o'clock because there's another group coming in to use the auditorium. So I think what we'll do is I've got some questions for the panelists, and then we'll turn it over to some questions from you in the audience, and we will bring you out a mic so we can hear you on the video. And then we'll be sure to leave a little bit of time where we can maybe just slip out into the lobby, and if you have one-on-one questions that you'd like to ask the panelists, you'd be more than welcome to do that. So please join me in welcoming our alumni. So maybe what we can do is start down at the end with Anna and just tell us who you are. We have your names up on the slide, but who you are and what you're doing now, and tell us just a little bit about your role and your job and the sort of elevator speech of what you're up to. How's that?
Hello. Hi, I'm Anna Kudak. I graduated in 2005 already, so I had my 10-year reunion this fall. So fun. We got together and went to Billy's and all. So it's good to be back here on my 10th anniversary year. And I'm at Augsburg as a full-time professor this year, and I'm absolutely loving it. So I went on to get my master's degree and then my PhD in communication. And yeah, I find that this degree is so useful both in the studying, obviously, that I do, and then in the teaching, as well as just having a role on campus. So
there's Ryan. Come on in.
Hi, I'm Katrina Anderson. I have the most boring last name in America, and I'm so glad I didn't become a first grade teacher. So, or kindergarten, I guess, rather. But I work at HealthPartners in the Institute for Education and Research, and I have one of those winding path. I don't know how I landed here, but I'm here kind of jobs. I work in our Office of Health Professional Education, and I support communications that go out to our medical students, residents, fellows, and now advanced practice students that rotate through all of the hospitals and clinics of the HealthPartners system. And in addition to that, we kind of support the communications with our clinician educators and trainers, as well as the coordinators who coordinate those programs. So it's a very ambiguous role, and I'm learning a lot.
I'm Stephanie Kaczynski. I graduated like 6 months ago, so I'm back. I work as a public relations associate at Lilja Communications, which is a very tiny, there's 5 people, public relations firm in Eden Prairie. And we do quite a wide variety of work for our clients, you know, press releases, internal communications. We also have a book publishing side of the business, so I'm kind of learning that because I'm very new to that side, but a lot of writing and editing and a little bit of design, so a little bit of everything.
Hey, I'm Kiera Jacobson. I am at Target. I graduated in 2010, so I'm having my 5-year anniversary. Good to know that you made it to 10. And I've been at Target since I graduated. I actually was an intern and came on full-time after. I started as a copywriter on our copywriting team and worked my way up. We became a social team, so now we work on all the social media that Target does, as well as a lot of the advertising. And now I'm an associate creative director, which I guess is a glorified name for a manager. So that's it.
I'm Laura Wiering. Oh, really loud. I work at Martin Williams, which is an ad agency in Minneapolis, and I'm an account manager. I've been in that role for 4 years over 2 different agencies. And basically, I manage the relationship between clients and the agency. So making sure that we're meeting our clients' objectives, but also upholding the standards of our agency. Get to do work on a lot of creative stuff at the agency, like TV, photo shoots, radio, that sort of thing for national and local brands.
Hi, my name is Briggs LeSavage. I graduated in 2014. And after I graduated, I actually started as a reporter at a TV station in Duluth. And then just a few months ago, I made the switch to the job I'm at now, which is the Deputy Communications Director for Congressman Sean Duffy over in Wisconsin. And so basically what that means is I handle a lot of his PR stuff. I manage his special events, help plan that kind of thing. I get to shoot my own little videos and stuff too, so I get to use a lot of the same reporting skills I learned here and at my first job and bring them into my new job. So that's cool. Oh, sorry.
I'm Dan Lamatsch, and as you can see, Senior Media Services Producer at Dorsey Whitney. It sounds really exciting, I know. I'm kind of the video production guy. My path, like a few others here, has kind of taken a twisting turn here and there. I started at KARE, then went to KSTP and KSTC for a while. Ended up doing some DIY HGTV, National Geographic, Travel Channel type video productions. Then I went to an online university, Kaplan University, and did some online education, really got my feet into the whole streaming video and server side applications of media production, and then that sort of kind of fizzled out a little bit, and then I went over to Dorsey & Whitney and have been able to utilize a whole bunch of skills I've learned in all of these different parts of my career, and this is quite possibly one of the most interesting, varied, fun, laid-back, yet extremely stressful jobs I think I've ever had. But it draws on everything starting here at St. Thomas, and it's just been a real fun path, and I'm happy you invited us.
I'm Ryan Shaver. I was class of 2012. I started in Iowa. I spent 3 long years in Iowa. No offense to anybody who's from there. Dr. Nujo, I'm looking right at you. Yeah, you got to start somewhere. So I spent 3 years in Iowa, and then about 2 months ago, I was hired over at KARE 11 as a sports reporter. I'm kind of what you call a multimedia journalist. I write, I shoot, I edit, I produce. Pretty much any job you can do in the sports department, I've done it and do it. Anchor. Yeah, I'm just blessed to be back home and covering the teams I grew up watching, and every day at work is really fun. Seriously, I'm living my dream. And thanks to Professor Vandegrift, I actually went into his office when I was, I think, a sophomore. Thought I was going to be a lawyer. I didn't want to get into journalism, but my dream since I was like 3 was always to work at KARE 11. My dad's Randy Shaver there, so I always wanted to work in the same building, and now I'm living it. So it's pretty awesome. Thanks for talking me out of it. Yeah. Yes.
So I'm just realizing that I'm a very poor social media manager for COJO because I left my phone on my desk and I wanted to take a picture of the panel. So thank you. I see Dr. Brees is on it. Thank you. Thank you very much. I think what our panelists are doing represents really well the breadth of communication and journalism and all of the opportunities that are out there. And some of you, like Kiera, have taken a pretty direct path to what you're doing, but we've already heard how other people took a less direct path. And I think one thing our students really think a lot about, and you can probably remember back to this when you were in school and thinking like, what am I going to do when I get out? And I've got to have this figured out. I've got to have the plan, and I've got to follow the plan, and I got to execute the plan. For those of you who have taken a more winding path, what sort of led you on that path, and how did you deal with some of the ambiguity and uncertainty about, making a decision to veer away from what you thought you were going to do when you started?
I can jump in. I actually was an art major here at St. Thomas, and on a whim took a copywriting class with Craig, and that literally changed my life because he was able to help me get connected into the ad world. So then I started at a small agency called Hot Dish in an account role, and I had no idea what I was doing. And on the first day, I still didn't know what I was doing, but found that it was actually a really good fit for me because it's all about relations with people and kind of developing those relationships and gaining a client's trust. And I had been an RA here at St. Thomas, and I think that experience really helped me develop those skills. So here I am 4 years later in a really good position that I didn't even really knew existed when I was in college, and it turns out to be a really good fit for me.
Adding on to that, switching from TV to kind of the more PR kind of thing, I think I did Tommy Media when I was here, and I think maybe I saw a lot of people going the TV route just because that was like what was right in front of me, and I thought maybe that's what I wanted to do too. And then I got there and I was like, oh, this is a lot different than I thought it was going to be. But the experience that I got from there was totally transferable, and I was nervous that when I was going to leave, I was going to be like not able to take any of these skills that I worked on for the last year. But really, a lot of the same things totally apply. I get to shoot and edit my own videos like I talked about before. The community relations part of it is entirely the same. So if you do end up switching, I mean, it's definitely not the end of the world. I've had a great experience, but it did take a lot to actually get there to do it and realize that's what I wanted to do. But you gotta kind of jump in and figure it out somewhere, I guess. I don't know. Don't really know.
How about you, Dan? You mentioned a little bit about your path and doing lots of different things.
I think St. Thomas, just to bring it back to where we are here today, I think St. Thomas really prepared me with a wide range of skills to start where I was going to go. I knew I was going to do video production. That's really what I knew I was going to do, and that's actually where I met Greg over at KARE at the time, and it was a really great experience for me. And as time kind of went through my career, I started part-time there, and then a full-time opportunity became available over at Channel 45, and I was on the original creative team that helped build the I'm 45 brand, and so that was something that was really fun to be involved in from the get-go. But as time kind of went on there, you've all seen about this, heard about this, and I'm sorry if I'm the one that brings it up tonight, but the world of media production can be pretty cold, specific to budgets, and as products grow and evolve and change, positions aren't necessarily needed or they change, etc. And twice in my career I've been part of a downsizing or a change in direction with things, and that actually, the first time it happened to me, it was extremely shocking, and it turns your world upside down. Luckily I wasn't married, didn't have kids or anything at the time, but we had our first daughter on the way. And it really kind of shocks you into reality that this isn't something that you can kind of coast through. And so you come back to what you learned at St. Thomas and what you learned along the way. And the second time it happened to me, it was even better because I knew what to expect going into my new world of what I was doing with media production. So every position has drawn on some other facet from a previous position. And what I found is I was one of the first ones in 1998 to work on AVIDs. I think that's when we got AVIDs here. And learning that technology more than just a user, but being somebody who's kind of a geek with it and doesn't mind getting into the zeros and ones of things and starting to just kind of mess around with it. And if you stay up till 2 in the morning doing that, so be it. That really did help me going forward. I feel very comfortable learning any type of design program, any type of production program. And so that's how where I'm at today, I'm kind of the in-house production guy for the firm globally. And it gave me a really well-rounded, all of these events gave me a really well-rounded place to be now.
Anna, did you always know you were going to go to grad school?
No, I thought it was going to be too expensive. And I actually I started out as an education major. I wanted to teach high school English. And then I took Dr. Carol Breese's research methods class, and it changed my life so much, 100% for the better, because I can't imagine being teaching high school right now. And I really love where I'm at. So it's interesting. I had a similar situation where one class changed the total course, and then it was great. You're so lucky at St. Thomas to have mentors who are really ready to embrace you under their wings, because not every school is like that, and I hope you take advantage of that, because I think along with learning new technologies and being excited about your work, you also just need to reach out to an advisor who's going to be willing to work with you, and they can really make things line up. So don't be afraid to reach out.
Go ahead, Katrina.
Yeah, I was going to share a little bit about my experience. I had a very different experience. I got married after my junior year of college, which that was weird to be married in college. And then I ended up doing a second, well, I was a double senior. I don't know what you call it these days, but a super senior. Okay. And in that point in time, my husband had actually gotten Hodgkin's lymphoma, so it was like being married and he was ill. And that actually made my job searching very different. I was extremely afraid because I had to be careful about really logistical things, like don't tell them your husband's sick because they might think that you want insurance from them or different things like this. So I felt like I had this just so much more on top of just job searching. I didn't feel like I could be the bright-eyed graduate looking for my dream job. And I had to make money because my husband was sick. So I actually ended up getting a job as a registrar at the front desk of a hospital in Hudson, Wisconsin, which was one of the most humbling jobs that I have ever had. I've never had my intelligence questioned more. People were so rude to me. You get caught in between nurses and patients, and I couldn't be more grateful for that experience and what I've learned from that. And I think that also, just being in the comfort of the medical world, kind of, that's why I was drawn to that position. But I started noticing a lot of my coworkers they had bachelor's degrees too, but they just got miserable and they got cranky and angry, and they just started getting kind of bickering with each other. So I started stepping back and observing what made people happy with their job, what made people miserable, and what to me has been through and through the number one thing is to always continue to learn and never settle. So I did that, and I applied for internships, although it's hard because when you graduate, you want to like go back to your high school and be like, woohoo, I'm a superstar, but it just takes time, and those experiences just make you so much better at what you're doing. So anyway, I ended up getting an internship at HealthPartners, and I cried when I got the job offer. And I thought that it was for a totally different reason than it was. What I learned when I got there, I was producing medical education videos, and that was a very unique role to be able to do video production full-time in an enterprise like that. And we were actually producing a lot of internal revenue from that, which was pretty interesting. But then it was kind of cool because I started looking for opportunities to show my skills elsewhere. And so there's kind of this new term of rapid prototyping where you don't always wait for permission. You kind of just do stuff and see what people think. And so that's kind of been my trick for moving along in different ways. And I've had 2 promotions in 2 years, and I've learned a lot. And I think continuously learning has been my favorite thing about my job. So,
Stephanie, you haven't had a whole lot of time to go on a long journey. But what does it feel like being out 6 months? And sort of where are you right now?
Well, it took me a while to find where I am now. I did a summer internship. I really wasn't sure. I was one of those people who was interested in a lot and took a lot of different classes and still didn't really know. So I kept taking classes and still didn't know, and then it was graduation. So I was looking for jobs, and the one I found is a really good fit for me for a lot of reasons, but at the same time, I'm still looking ahead. And I'm looking ahead to grad school, to be honest, and I'm anticipating I'll have a very winding journey. I pretty much guarantee that right now, but it's been kind of I can echo the sentiment of wanting to always be learning and always be growing, because that's who I am as a person, but that's also kind of how I'm treating my job. Like, I didn't take a single public relations course here, and so I'm now a public relations person. And so it's like literally my full-time job to learn about public relations. So it's, for me at least, it's just a really great learning experience, and I kind of have an open attitude. Like, I'll see where it takes me.
Maybe I'll let you start, Kiera, with this. What are some of the ideas or some of the knowledge or the skills that you learned or developed in COJO that you think have been most important in your post-COJO life?
I am slowly realizing I'm the one person that may have taken the whole, I'm going to take a copywriting course, and then I'm going to do an internship in copywriting, and then I'm going to become a copywriter, and then I'm going to, wow, you guys have really cool stories. Mine is really boring. But I think the thing is when I was trying to figure out my freshman, sophomore year, what I really wanted to do, I talked to my dad and I said, what kind of major is going to help? I thought maybe marine biology or something like that. And he's like, whatever you do, wherever you go, you're going to have to be a good writer. You're not going to get somebody to read that cover letter unless you write a really good cover letter. And so he said, if anything, just start taking writing classes. And that's why I ended up in COJO, because I realized, okay, I guess my dad was in advertising, and I'm like, he might be onto something with this, because I actually started liking these courses, and I owe a lot to the professors because of that, and Craig Bryan was a great mentor to me throughout college, and John Purdy, if any of you have ever had him, he's not here anymore, but he's awesome. And they were really great influences, and just kept kind of pushing us forward, and I think also getting really involved in the kind of programs outside of just your coursework. Tommy Media was launching when I was a junior or senior. And so getting really involved in that, getting involved in NSAC, which is National Student Advertising Competition, and AdFed. So COJO is really important for the basics and getting to know just the tactics, all that kind of stuff. But really when it comes to putting it into practice, doing all of those extracurriculars are really going to get you your job. So I'd say a really good combination of that, and the COJO experience does a really good job of providing opportunities like that.
How about other panelists? Ideas, skills, knowledge, questions?
I think, is anybody in Tommy Media here right now? No Tommy Media? We have
Join Tommy Media.
Two Tommy Media. Okay, I got you. I guess for me, Tommy Media was huge. I think it taught me, when I showed up in Iowa, I felt like I was so far ahead of the curve because of my time in Tommy Media. We just felt like we were ahead of the game as far as the way the business was changing, and we were doing it here in college. We were telling everybody it's important to not just be a writer, not just be someone who does video, not just be someone who can talk on the camera. You got to do it all. I look at the Star Tribune and I see those guys now, they're filming their interviews, they're editing those, and they're writing their stories. That's just the way the business is. And I learned all of that here. And Professor Vandegrift, Dr. Nusual, they saw the way the world was changing, and they stressed that. And right when I got out into the real world, I felt like I couldn't have been more ready for what I was going to face. And for those that aren't in Tommy Media or thinking maybe this is what you want to do it. Literally, you'll learn if you love this business by doing it, because it teaches you deadlines, it teaches you pressures. I put in long hours. I was the director of Time Media. I was there late nights, Thursday nights. Those are prime nights in college. I spent a lot of time doing it, and I still found time to have fun. Everybody, I think Briggs can agree. But it was so beneficial, and I seriously, if you even have a question, if it's something that you might be into, do it.
I just wanted to point out, too, at the TV station I was at, WDIO, there were me, Bailey Warfield, Bjorn Satterback, Heidi Enningay. There were 4 of us there who did Tommy Media, who my boss directly hired because, A, we were really...
you guys.
And Ryan hired me for Tommy Media, whatever. So, yeah, but, that's just a really good, another example about... the Tommy Media connections you make, not only with the professors, too, but the students are really great. Because I was able to say good things about the other people from St. Thomas who were applying, because I knew their work ethic. Because everybody in Tommy Media is a hard worker.
I wasn't in Tommy Media. So it was wonderful, and
I predate Tommy Media. Campus Scope.
I tried to tried to resurrect that. That was hard, but I helped with all of the Jumbotron stuff at the Anderson Athletic Center. I helped kind of get that up and running, and that was a blast. I think there's a lot of opportunities. I mean, I did a lot of orientation videos and different things like that. I wanted to do more video production stuff, and I think the lesson from that is, without a doubt right now, learn video skills, even if they're soft, because everybody wants them right now. Even if it's, at where I am, we're kind of trying to flip our meetings. So instead of getting into a meeting and having a PowerPoint presentation with a ton of new information and saying, what do you think? And then no one says anything. We're kind of sending that information via video beforehand. So we're teaching our directors and vice presidents how to use their iPhones to create their own videos right now. And something that we're working on is kind of enabling other people. There's so much new technology out there, enabling other people to be creative themselves too. And it's really fun to multiply value. And then that kind of frees up your time to do the truly creative work and do the really high quality video or animation or graphic design work that you do enjoy doing.
I was going to speak for those who might want to go to grad school too. I was going to say that I did feel really prepared going into my master's program. And I remember asking questions like, people would ask, like, what's a lit review? And I had done dozens of them by the time I got into grad school. And so I do feel like you're in a really good program and you should feel good about that.
Maybe we'll start with Laura for this one. What would be, and we heard about experiences like being part of Tommy Media and being part of the Jumbotron and the Student Center. Is there a memorable experience that you have that was related to COJO? Something that really stands out to you? If you saw your cohort group from your graduating class, is there something that would come to mind?
Maybe I'm not the best person for this question because I really only took one class in COJO, and that was Craig's class. It was Craig's class that really stands out. I think actually when I took that class, it was very inspiring for me because it was so different from any other class I had taken. I took really creative classes, obviously, for painting and drawing, but never had the cross-section of how that might be applicable like in the business world, because I was with all these art students and we're like, oh, I don't know where we're going to work someday, but we'll just make money somehow. And everyone thought they were going to like sell their paintings somewhere. I don't know. But I was never in a class that was truly creative and that seemed to have a direct link to an actual profession in the business world, like in real life. And that was really inspiring for me and really motivating because I have that creative bone, and I really was looking for something that let me do that, but also used my communication skills, my ability to connect with people, kind of that savvy that you develop over time. So I think it always stands out in my college experience as like a bright spot.
I don't know if it's just because it was the last COJO class I took, but COJO ethics was a really big deal. I know everyone has to take it, so this isn't really like persuading you to take it, but maybe just to pay really good attention to that class, because that class, media law, that's a great class. Vandy's reporting classes were great. I'm trying to think of the other classes. I don't want to leave anybody out. Sorry. Yeah, but no, COJO ethics. Work as hard as you can at Ethics Bowl. That was a really fun, maybe, I was going to say it was a fun experience. It was just a really good learning experience. It was kind of fun, too, because you got to work in a group and stuff like that. But I learned a ton from ethics, so value that class.
I work with students every day on their degree plans and what they're thinking about in terms of internships or study abroads or et cetera, and they often will ask me about my advice for doing a minor or a double major, and I'm curious. I have my own answer, but I'm curious what you all think. Did any of you do double major or a minor, and what did that bring to your experience while you were here at St. Thomas?
I can start. I was a double major in COJO and Spanish. And it's kind of funny because those are both of the majors I started. Like I knew I was going to study Spanish. I knew I was going to do communications. And then I like individually kind of like doubted and had to find my way in each of those and came back to them. And really what I found is like, first of all, there's no additional skill that will hurt you on your resume. You know, like being fluent in Spanish, some people might not care, but quite a few people do. But aside from that, what I found is that my majors really intersected in interesting ways that were really helping me to highlight what I wanted to follow. In that, you know, I started to study culture. And so communication, a lot of it is like the study of our culture, like how we create our culture. And then Spanish within there, I studied abroad and like learned a lot about, you know, just different social and political issues in the United States and abroad. And so, I don't know, the intersection of the two was what was extremely valuable for me. I don't know if that's a good answer.
I just think, honestly, the more classes you take, the better prepared you're going to find something that you'll continue to apply throughout your life and throughout your career. And I would probably recommend a minor or a double major because you're here and you should just take advantage of this. It's so, like, the 4 years go so fast. I would just, if I could go back, I'd just embrace and take every possible class I could.
I wish I would have minored in political science with my new job, but I did not. I minored in Spanish, which has been great too because my congressman's wife is actually Spanish, and so we've been able to talk in Spanish a little bit. And there's a huge Spanish community in Milwaukee, actually, Puerto Rican community, and so they do a lot of. It's not in his area, but we like to reach out to them as well. So that's helped.
So I've got two more questions, and be thinking about questions that you all want to ask because I'll turn it over to you shortly. But my second to last question is, what's the least favorite part of what you do now? Or if you're Ryan who's living the dream, what surprised you about this job or a job that you've had previously that you didn't expect, you know, when you were a student? And I'll throw this out to anyone.
I guess, I mean, I knew that the business was tough, and I knew it was going to be a grind. But I guess when I got into Iowa, I realized that it was even more so than I thought it was going to be. I found myself working some Saturdays from 8 in the morning until 11 o'clock at night, like no joke. And I was salaried, so I wasn't getting paid extra for doing it. But if I didn't do it, like, it wouldn't get on TV. And I take a lot of pride in what I was doing. And, you know, I figured after those 3 years, like, it would maybe get easier at KARE 11 because I was not so much a one-man band, but I found it's about the same. Like, you work really long days, and you really got to love what you do. And that's why I say do the time media, because it taught me then it was going to be a grind. But it really is. And I see a lot of people in, you know, Briggs, you got out of the business, and I saw a lot of people at my station leave because it's a lot. But it's something you got to really love to do. It's rewarding. I mean, every day is different. Every day is fun. And every day I get to be creative. And I just think that's about as cool as it gets.
I can say one thing that surprised me. I actually went back and talked to Dr. Guan about it because I was shocked. So one of my favorite classes was organizational communication, which I had no idea I would like it so much. But she's a phenomenal teacher. I loved that. I went back to her and I just said, there's so much change happening at work. I don't know what to do. And she was so encouraging to me and said that, Katrina, when we were in your communications class, we talked a lot about communication from the top level down, but we didn't talk about what that feels like when you're living it and when you're experiencing the change. And so, you know, change is so rapid, but I was really shocked because I think that I thought it would be easier. And in order to be engaged or to advance in your career, you have to be engaged. And I think I kind of thought, I went to St. Thomas and I have my degree in my back pocket. Now I'm just going to walk in and it's going to be great. And you have to be engaged to have a really invigorating job. And so Dr. Rowan was just so encouraging. She's like, it's exhausting, and we didn't talk about that, but that's such life. So
I think starting at an ad agency, immediately I was like amazed at how cool it was because everyone's hanging out in beanbag chairs and like everyone has their own bottle of their choice of alcohol at their desk, and it's exactly as you imagine. Like the stories are true. And that's really cool for like 3 weeks, but then you remember that there's a client on the other end of the line, and anytime that you're dealing with client relations, you're the first one to hear when something goes really, really well, and you're really excited, and they're happy about the campaign, and it like went gangbusters, and everyone's cheersing over it. And then you get that call the next day when something went wrong, and it maybe wasn't your fault directly, but you're on a team, and no one person takes the fault, so the account person gets to take the fault. And so you're automatically the receiver of all the bad news, and you have to respond to that. And of course, that's what makes a good account person, is being able to respond to that. But I think very quickly I had to develop a really tough skin, and that wasn't something I was prepared for or something that I really like about it. Sometimes I just want to go home and cry, but it's been a really good experience. And obviously the good outweighs the bad, but I don't think I quite realized that not all people are very nice, and the one who's paying gets the final say in the end, and that's the client.
And that's when you realize why everybody's got a drink of choice on their desk. There was two times that come to mind that Dr. Sauter has helped guide me towards where I want to go. The first time, you may or may not have known it, but I came here I wanted to be doing something with accounting or finance. And by the time I got into sophomore year and I was learning debits by the window, credits by the door, and thinking to myself, I can't do this for the next 40-some years. I had just started taking the general production class that Dr. Sauter was doing, the TV video production, and I thought, wow, how fun, obviously you're in college, how fun could this be if I could do this the rest of my life? That was part of it, but the other part of it really appealed to the technical side of me. I geek out on that kind of stuff. But to your question, the second time that we recently met was within the last year at a social function, and we were just kind of talking over how things are at Dorsey, and I had started to just inadvertently unload on him. And the conversation quickly turned to how you have to adapt and you have to change. And what I walked away with from that conversation with him was turn the negatives into a positive. If you have a problem with something, just face it head on. If you don't like it, just take care of whatever it is. For me, it was video conferencing. I have never done anything in my life with video conferencing until I started this job. But once I got into it and figured out what a codec is, what's SIP, what's H323, what's a bridge, how does a Polycom work with a Cisco Tandberg codec, all of this stuff I didn't care about at all. But once I started talking to some network people, once you have the inevitable I alluded to earlier, it's a very stressful job when you have a partner with 15 associates, senior attorneys, paralegals, and secretaries all looking at you when the video conference isn't working. You learn pretty darn quickly how to fix the video conference. So that's when I started making friends on the inside with the networking and that kind of stuff, and I turned the negative into a positive, and now I feel a lot more confident when a situation like that arises that, even if I can't fix it on the spot, I can address the lead partner in the room and just say, hey, this isn't working. We'll have to use the old standby, the phone or something like that. And they go, oh, that's fine. It turned it into this nerve-wracking, scary as heck situation and became just a very easygoing thing to deal with.
Okay, so final question. We'll let everyone take a stab at this. And we've already heard some advice tonight, but I think that's always something that our students are interested in. Like if you could offer one, and just give us one piece of advice to our current students, most of whom are in our 111 and 112 courses, so are beginning their COJO journeys and have lots of time for setting that journey. What piece of advice would you offer? Anna's ready. She's got it.
I would say that your happiness is always up to you, and you can take a situation and try to make change if there is something wrong, but often it's really in your perception. And just to keep trying really hard at everything you do.
I would say I wish that when I was a freshman, I would have had a mentor who wasn't my advisor and was a life mentor outside of any school-related or family-related things. I think that would be my number one thing.
I would say don't worry what anyone else is doing. I mean, like, you see a lot of people in Tommy Media. That's great for a lot of people. You see a lot of people in advertising, PR, or whatever, whatever area of COJO everyone ends up in. I think you need to take some serious time to discern what's right for you and follow what you're interested in. If you find something that piques your interest, even if it's what you would never have expected, give it a shot.
I guess I kind of already told you to get involved on campus as a piece of advice, but I think also getting involved off campus is interesting too. I remember I had a good friend who lived on my floor freshman year, and within the first couple months of school, she was already volunteering downtown, looking at internships downtown in places that she just wanted to know, like, is this something I'm really interested in? And I think she had a really cool path because she was able to sort stuff out while she was also taking classes. So if she's taking a class in poli-sci, she's trying to get an internship in that. If she's thinking about going into news reporting, maybe she finds, heading down to KARE 11 is something to do. So I think take advantage of everything that you can on campus because you have a ton of really awesome resources, but also check that career site and see what kind of internships you can get in the real world also. And then use us too, because you have a really good St. Thomas alumni network, and we've all been in that situation. And I look at the kind of relationships that we've had probably with other alumni too, and it gets you places. So take advantage of it.
In addition to that, getting involved outside of St. Thomas, I'd say get involved in something outside of class. So whether it's something that you just have an interest in or volunteering, when I was looking for jobs, I have a fashion blog on the side. And a lot of times I would go into interviews and they'd say, okay, like we get the St. Thomas thing, or we get that you're an account manager, but tell me about this. And so like I had my blog listed on my resume, which I wasn't sure about at first, but it turned out to be the number one reason that people were interested in me. And I think it shows, and people have validated this, shows that if you can be constructive and organized and passionate about something in your free time, that you're going to also do that during your work time.
I would say make friends with your professors. I think that's really important. And not, I mean, you can obviously learn a lot from them too, but they make great references later on too if they liked you, I guess.
At first, I was going to say something smarmy like make mistakes, because how else will you learn if something is completely off key and off base? People will tell you. But I think the nugget I want you guys to, at least for me to get, is stay curious. It will lead you down paths that you don't even know exist. For me, that's how I got to where I'm at Dorsey. It's an area I never thought I'd be doing. In-house media production for an AMLA 100 firm is something I never, ever thought of when I sat downstairs and did STTV.
I guess it's going to sound kind of bad, but, like, don't take things so seriously. Like, you only get 4 years here at St. Thomas, and, like, have fun. Like, college is fun. I look back on it, and I miss it so much. Like you really, like, seriously, enjoy the time that you have here. I remember I'm not saying, like, don't study and don't try, but, like, I remember some of my peers would focus so hard on studying. Everything was so important, do or die. Oh my God, if I got a B on this test. Not one person I've ever interviewed with asked me what grades I got in college. Not one person did, And so, like, don't be afraid if you don't do well and stuff. It's more of just, like, finding something that's fun every day to do. Like, that's the best advice I ever got, was find a job that doesn't feel like a job, and so that every day at work is fun. And, take that, apply that to just life. but enjoy the time that you have here. Don't burn yourself out on college, because when you get in the real world, it doesn't get any easier. Yes, ma'am.
All right. Do we have any questions from the audience? All right. Here I come.
Hi. Okay. Hi. I was wondering if you kind of touched on the grade subject, and maybe this is kind of a odd question, but you all, it seemed, kind of to say, well, yes, I know you're from St. Thomas. That's what your interviewer would say. Yes, I know you've got a degree from there, but what else do you do? Does that mean that the St. Thomas degree is kind of, it's not as important, per se? Or does it have good importance to say getting a degree from St. Thomas in the communications field? Is that still kind of a valid thing?
I was going to say I got interviews because I had St. Thomas on my resume, so definitely 100% worth it. And I think even from a lot of other people that I work with that have bachelor's degrees, I think St. Thomas does live out its mission to teach us to think critically, and I think that's the number one skill that is going to just set you above anybody else. So I was pumped because I had so many interviews because I had St. Thomas on my resume, and I was actually I was just talking with somebody today about how awesome it is that Tommies take care of each other too. So if you see St. Thomas on a resume, a lot of people will have you come in because they just know there's a reputation, especially in the Twin Cities, for high quality employees. So
I think I want to touch on what Briggs said. You know, like, maybe the best part about St. Thomas is like the professors here. You know, if you can't put a price on that. I remember I was looking for my first job, just like them making phone calls for me, like setting up interviews and doing that for everybody, like bending over backwards for everybody. And like, they care, and it was important to them, and you can't put a price on that. And that's what you get here. And you get these intimate class sizes. You know, you got 15 people in some of these classes, and like, that's more important than grades to me, and more important than the, oh my God, I went to St. Thomas thing. It's those people that make it worthwhile here.
I think St. Thomas offers something really great in that it's a larger, small school, and it's in a large community. And so I think you made a good choice because we have enough students and faculty that you can network with and continue to network with for the rest of your life. And then also, though, you have those small class sizes, and so you should feel, I think, pretty good about your investment.
Are there other questions from the audience? This is your chance. You can ask anything, almost anything. Oh, Dr. Brees has a question. Are you ready? Are we taking faculty questions? Okay, yes, we will. No, I'm just kidding.
It's just that I love a microphone. I know. That's why we're in COJO. So you're out there in life now. Many of you are, exploring relationships, developing new families. What would you say about your experiences here and even in your coursework, but even, with some of these relationships you've developed with faculty, other peers? How have you seen that translating into the life, the outside of work, the relationships, your own families? And, as you answer, would you have some advice that's personal about what you could take advantage of here to help the students, post-graduation, just out there in the social world?
I'm extremely personal. I'll tell like way too much information, so if you ask me anything, I'll just blurt it out. But I think that, so I actually got a job at HealthPartners because Pam downstairs in the TV studio, I think she moved. Her kids went to school with my boss that hired me, and she called for a character reference. And I thought that was cool because I didn't connect with Pam so that Pam would get me a job. I connected with Pam because I liked Pam. And I think that what will get you farther are having genuine connections. I think people can tell when you're making a connection with somebody so that you can be on the resume or something. So I think that genuine connections were awesome. But what exactly was your question again? I'm brain
It was about using COJO in your sort of personal life, your relationships, outside of work particularly. Is that right? Kind of captured.
Oh, yeah. So not even work related. Oh, I think this helped my marriage. I'll just say that. I think I communicate better with my husband and listen to his point of view a lot more. And I don't remember which, it was one of the theory classes, but on the theory of interpersonal communication, that all couples have conflict, but the most successful ones have conflict resolution. It's from Dr. Cragen's class.
I had someone say to me once, she was a friend, she was a COJO major. I think she was a year older, but she had a really big fight with her sister. And her sister looked at her, and they were, you know, like screaming and like doing everything you're not supposed to do in a fight. And her sister looked at her and said, "You're a COJO, like you're a communications person, and this is how you're choosing to communicate." And that really stuck with me. That, you know, it's not just like I'm learning all these applicable skills for my job and like more stuff to put on a resume and a bulleted list. Like that's true, but these are skills that you need to have in my opinion, a happy and successful life. Because if you're going through life alone with no successful relationships, it's kind of, it's missing something. And so that really stuck with me as I'm learning these, but don't forget to start to put them into practice as well, all these skills.
Yeah, so I notice in my marriage and in my friendships, a lot of people will comment like, wow, you're a good listener, you know, those sorts of things. But what I've really noticed is my critical thinking skills as a parent. I have 3 children who are young. And I do feel like the course is here to kind of prepare me to think in a different way than a lot of the other parents I notice. And maybe to over-research their lives and how I'm raising them. So we won't talk about that part, though. Over-analyzing them.
Well, I just want to say that all the faculty in COJO nominated panelists tonight, and I think it's just so cool to see people so willing to come and spend an evening with us back on campus. We appreciate it so much. We're so proud of all of you. It's just terrific to see you. We will stop here and head out into the lobby. There's probably some pumpkin bars left and some hot cider, which maybe isn't as scalingly hot as it was when we first came in. And if you want a chance to connect individually with one of our panelists, I believe they're happy to stay for a couple of minutes and answer questions, and you can exchange names, and we're going to get one quick picture. But please join me in thanking everyone for coming tonight. And we'll see you back at our spring panel, I hope. Thank you.